So 3 months ago, a friend of mine suggested that I attend a course. It's a self-healing course. And he thought it might give me some insight on my own healing journey. I didn't quite like it. By the first hour or two, I was already feeling very uncomfortable, and I was texting my friends and I was saying, I don't like this and I want to get out of it. And it was going to be a 3-day course. But, I thought, I paid for this course. Let me just sit through this and let's see what they have to say. I didn't quite like it because the premise of this course is that our personalities have been shaped by something they call the wounded child. And that wounded child was hurt by primarily our parents. Now, from a certain perspective, I can see how that works. This entire course revolved around this wounded child that was caused by our parents. That's to say that all the damage, all the trauma that we've gone through stems from something our parents did wrong. Now that could maybe or may not, but I felt that blaming our parents solely for our trauma was a little bit much. I'll give you an example. I said something about I don't remember my parents being around a lot, because they had to work and all that sort of thing. Suddenly it became this thing about being abandoned. And I'm like, yeah, but I remember this from a very young age as a little kid, a little toddler. And they go, yeah, it stems from there, so left you there and went off and argued about something, you felt abandoned. And so therefore now you harbor these thoughts of, these ideas of being abandoned. I think that was a bit of a stretch. Now, the other thing that I didn't like about it was that all the participants in this course felt it necessary to burst into tears and just heave and sob at everything that they talked about. They would say, is there something you want to work on? Somebody goes, oh, I'm always late. And then the speaker goes, probably because, at some point in your life, your parents didn't scold you or berate you for being late or didn't pressure you on the correctness of not being late. And then they walk through this healing where they kind of put, if in your mind you role play and you sort of go back in that time and visualize your parents, and you're supposed to scream at them, scold them, show your anger at them and so on. And they call this healing. And every single person was expected to bawl and cry and just heave and sob like somebody died. It's not my thing, and it left me wondering, is there something wrong with me that I'm not feeling my emotion? And this was just day one. They assigned me this senior, student or whatever, talked to me over the first day and the second day and asked me about, what I was going through. And all this is out in public already, me coming out and my family and the life I had to lead and problems with my parents and with my dad and so on. So by the third day, obviously, they picked me for a healing. The one thing I didn't like particularly was they said there are a couple of things that you need to let go of in order to heal. Number one, influencer. And I'm like, yeah, sure, that's something that I was trying to do since May. I can let this go. I don't have to be an influencer. I don't want to use social media just for self-affirmation and affirmation from others. Two, father. And I'm like, yeah, I'll never let go of being a father. I'm a father. I am. This is it. Number three, the guy said you have to let go of being gay because maybe being gay is because of something that you didn't get as a wounded child. And I'm like, no, that's ridiculous. Okay. But he goes, yeah, but you have to let go before you want to heal. And I just wanted to get on with it. So I said, okay, sure. I said, I'll give you this much. Being gay doesn't have to be my entire identity. Perhaps recently I've made it my identity because, I've just come out but I will not concede that being gay is because of a wounded child. He didn't quite like that very much. Ever since I was a kid, I would write about a terrified little boy that I've locked up inside somewhere, chained up inside somewhere. I have bits and pieces of written work, which I've written about this ever since I was a teenager. And at one point, the guy said, you need to address this wounded child and see this wounded child. What do you have to say about him? And I was like, okay, maybe it is time for me to address this boy that I trapped inside. But when I closed my eyes and I visualized this boy, I was very pleased to sort of see that this boy is no longer locked up. He's no longer chained. He's jumping up and down in joy because of what I've done in the last few years, the journey that I put myself on in the last few years. And I told him this. He goes, oh, you're not in touch with your feelings. And so you tell him how angry you are and how upset you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not angry at this boy. I'm proud of him I'm proud of what he's gone through, what he survived, and to be able to stay quiet and live this long, gotten this far, and he's made the effort, despite the pain, despite the difficulties, to break those chains inside. I'm proud of him. I'm not sorry he went through all those things. I'm not. It was difficult. I don't know if I'll do it all over again. I refused to be angry at this child. And the guy was like, oh, you need to visualize this, and show him how angry you are, tell him how guilty you are. I'm not. I'm very proud of him. He's done good. So anyway, I was telling my therapist, I did my research about this. And this thing is based on something called the psychology of vision. And I didn't like it because it takes some psychological science, some truths in psychological science, and then it stretches that. It's like pseudoscience, right? You take some science, you stretch that, and you go after people who are vulnerable, don't know where to go, feeling desperate, and you go for their money. And the guy's willing to tell you, you need to come back, you need to keep visiting this wounded child and fix yourself to be a better person. My therapist asked me, did you call him out? And I said, no, because I know where I'm at. And there are a lot of people there who feel that this works for them. So I'm not going to take it away from him. But he did point out something. While we acknowledge our trauma, if you have to revisit the trauma over and over and over again, that's what the cults do. Because they want you trapped in that space. And I was like, that makes sense. Because in my journey in the last couple of years, I have revisited my trauma. I have gone back to say, this hurt me, this person hurt me, this event hurt me, this event caused me to be this way. But I also said I responded incorrectly at the time and I can do better. How can I change how this trauma has affected me? But if we keep revisiting it, we will never be able to rewrite that experience. We're constantly revisiting the pain. That's not therapy. That's not growing. That's not changing. That's not becoming better. Becoming better is acknowledging that and then rewriting that experience and making the experience better. Yes, our parents did what they did because they didn't do any better. But if we recognize that and we go, we can do better. We can not do the mistakes that they have done and not repeat the mistakes that they have done. We're changing someone else's life. We're changing our experience. We're rewriting that memory. We need to recognize those traumas. We need to acknowledge that they exist, acknowledge what is done to us, acknowledge as well that we want to heal from the pain, and then we find ways to rewrite those painful memories.